Hello, boys and girls. I am so excited that today we are going to have a lesson about Thanksgiving. Have you heard of Thanksgiving before? Well, Thanksgiving is a very special holiday that began in the United States of America. And today we are going to be learning about the history of the Thanksgiving holiday, how it began, and its importance in the history of the United States of America. We celebrate Thanksgiving almost the same way the very first Thanksgiving in America was celebrated. Many years ago, a group of people lived in the country of England. The people decided to leave England to find a place where they could worship God the way the Bible tells us to. These people were called the Pilgrims. The story of Thanksgiving actually began 400 years ago. Can you believe that? Why don't we make a 400 with our fingers so we can remember? 400 years ago was the first Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving began when the country, United States of America, didn't even exist yet. And it all began with a group of people called the Pilgrims who traveled from their old home in England all the way across the ocean to the new land, which we now call America, so that they could worship God. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about these people, the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims, can you make two fingers like this and touch the first one and say Pil, and the second one and say Grims? The Pilgrims were a group of people who lived in England, who loved God, they worshiped God. But they lived in England during a time where the king did not allow them to worship God the way that the Bible teaches us. So they decided that they were going to have to leave their home and go and find a new home where they could live their lives freely to worship God. Now, these people were called the Pilgrims. And the reason why I want us to touch our two fingers like this is because the word pilgrims may be a new word. It might be a little bit difficult to remember. But pilgrims has two syllables. So let's do this when we say pilgrims to help us remember about these people who loved God. Okay, so the Pilgrims, boys and girls, do you know how they went from England all the way across that ocean to America? Do you think that they bought an airplane ticket and got on the airplane and went across, landed at JFK? No, there were no airplanes back then, boys and girls. So how did they travel and get all the way across the ocean? They had to ride a great big boat. Just like another great big boat that we know about from our Bible class, that is the boat that God told Noah to build to take all of the animals and his family inside so that God could protect him. Yes, but that was thousands of years before. And this is year 1620, and the Pilgrims decided to get on this big boat where God protected them, just like he protected Noah's family. And he took them all the way across the ocean to land in the new land. The Pilgrims decided to go to America. They gathered together the few things they owned and traveled on a ship called the Mayflower. Day after day, the people sailed across the ocean. At first, the water was smooth, and a good wind blew into the ship's sails. But after a while, storms came. The water rose up in high waves and tossed the ship from side to side. The people prayed that God would keep them safe. It seemed to take a long time, but the Mayflower finally arrived safely in America. Some of the men took one of the smaller boats that had been on the ship. They sailed to find a good place for the people to build their homes. After a while, they found a good place that they named Plymouth. And the Mayflower, with all the people on it, sailed to Plymouth. Everyone thanked God for bringing them to their new home. Well, boys and girls, do you know what the name of that boat was that they traveled on? This is also a very important part of our history of the United States of America. The boat had a very cool name, and I'm going to teach you how to remember the name. Now in Vietnamese, we call May tháng năm. So May is the 5th month of the year, and for those of us who speak Vietnamese, we know that tháng năm is May. So we're gonna hold up 5 fingers and say the May flower. The reason why we're gonna do flower like this is because that is the hand motion from our song, Oh, who can make a flower? I'm sure I can't, can you? So we're gonna say the May flower when we talk about that big boat that the Pilgrims got on to travel all the way across the ocean from England to the new land. Well, boys and girls, after the Pilgrims arrived in the new land on the May flower, do you know what they found? Of course, there were no houses or buildings at all in this place. There were no stores to buy food. The people had to share the rest of the food that was on the Mayflower. They did not know how to hunt or fish, and it was too close to winter to plant any crops. The Pilgrims also worked on building new homes. They did not have time to build a house for each family, so they shared houses. They also built a large building called a common house, where people could meet together. Many of the people who came to Plymouth became sick during the winter. The common house became a kind of hospital where the sick were cared for. The people worked hard to build their homes and get food for their families. Many people became sick, and many died. Finally, winter ended. The Mayflower was ready to sail back to England. Life had been very hard for the people who had come to live in America. Would they go back to England on the Mayflower? No. The Pilgrims knew that they had come to America for the right reason. They wanted to love and serve God the right way. They believed God would take care for them and help them to make a new home in America. Would you be thankful if you went to a new place and became sick and had a lot of hard times? It might be hard to be thankful, but we will learn later that the Pilgrims were very thankful for the way God took care of them. We can be thankful for the nice homes and the food and clothes that God has given us. When the Pilgrims came to America, they had to work very hard to clear the land. The Pilgrims were very surprised when an Indian named Samoset came to visit them. They were even more surprised when he spoke to them in their own language. One day, Samoset brought an Indian named Squanto to visit the Pilgrims. Squanto could also speak to the Pilgrims in English. He decided to stay with the Pilgrims and teach them how to live in America. He taught them how to plant corn so that it would grow well. He also taught them how to hunt and fish. Squanto became good friends to the Pilgrims. Another Indian, Massasoit, was brought to visit the Pilgrims. Massasoit was the chief of many of the Indians who lived near the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims and Massasoit agreed that their people would be friends. The gardens that Squanto helped the Pilgrims plant grew well. They gathered a lot of food, more food than they had had for a long time. The Pilgrims decided they would have a special celebration. They would have a big meal, a feast, and a time of giving thanks to God for helping them make a life in America. The Pilgrims also wanted to invite their new Indian friends to the feast. They worked very hard getting ready for the big meal. The men hunted for turkeys and other animals. The children picked berries, and the women cooked and baked. On the day of the Thanksgiving feast, the Pilgrims and Indians gathered together. The Pilgrim leader prayed, thanking God for watching over them and giving them special friends, the Indians. Then everyone began to eat. The children helped carry food to the tables, making sure the dishes were filled again as soon as they were emptied. For 3 days, the Pilgrims and Indians celebrated Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims were glad they had come to America and made new friends. They were very thankful that God took care of them during their first winter and had made their gardens grow the next year. When we celebrate Thanksgiving, we can remember how the Pilgrims left behind their old homes and friends so they could worship God a better way. They knew that nothing is more important than worshiping and obeying God. When you sit down to your Thanksgiving dinner, don't forget to thank God for all that He has done for you. Who do you think that they gave thanks to for all of the food? Yes, you are right. They gave thanks to God for providing enough food for them to eat, for giving them new friends, the kind American Indians who helped them and taught them how to hunt and fish and farm. And most importantly, boys and girls, they gave thanks to God because He gave them the freedom in the new land that they could worship God and that they could create a new set of rules that allowed people to live just as the Bible teaches us. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, God, unto thee.
Hello Esther, today I will ask you some questions. What is Thanksgiving? What's your answer? A holiday in November that began America to give thanks to God. What is Thanksgiving? A holiday in November that began in America to give thanks to God for He is providence.
What question do we always ask each other on Thanksgiving?
What are you thankful for?
Can you share something you are thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family and Thanksgiving Day.
Why are you thankful?
Hello Ruth, today I will ask you some question. What is Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is a holiday in November that began America to give thanks to God.
Yes, very good. What question we always ask each other on Thanksgiving?
What are you thankful for?
Okay, can you share something you are thankful for?
I'm thankful for a friend. I'm thankful for a teacher and a family and many things.
Thank you so much.